To answer the question, tell me something about yourself, always highlight your career and previous job experiences first because you're basically applying for a job. But if you don't have those, if you're a fresh graduate, you want to talk about your hobbies, your how you are as a person, what you did in school, your accomplishments, and as much as possible, relate them to the job of a call center agent. If you have a call center experience, you can just say, I'm Sheena, a graduate of computer programming. For 4 years, I worked as a customer service representative for an e-commerce store that sells kitchen supplies. My task was to answer customers' questions about order delivery dates as well as process payments and refunds for them. It was a challenging job, but I learned a lot from it. But what if you have a job experience, but you have no call center experience? How could you relate your previous job to the job description of a call center agent? Well, here is a format I recommend. You want to start with your first name and then your educational attainment. Next, you still want to talk about the task involved in your previous job experience. And lastly, this is when you relate the two jobs together. The idea is to emphasize an element in your previous job that is also present in a call center agent's job description. Hi, I'm Sheena. I graduated a 2-year vocational course in computer programming. After graduation, I worked as a sales lady in SM at the ladies department for 6 months and then as a service crew in a milk tea store for 9 months. As a sales lady, my task was to assist customers when they're fitting clothes in the dressing room. As a food service crew, my task was to clean the store, serve milk teas, and process customers' payments. One thing I learned from both of these jobs is that people buy product because they need it. But what makes them come back for more and become a repeat customer is an exceptional customer service. When I found out that your company is looking for customer service agents who would serve customers internationally, I just couldn't pass up the opportunity and decided to apply. But what if you couldn't relate your previous job to the job description of a call center agent? Maybe you were a nanny, or maybe you were a construction worker. These two jobs are just so different from the task of a call center agent. And if this is the case, then don't sweat it. You can still state your first name, your educational background, the task involved in your previous job. But you want to add one thing, and here's what you want to add. You want to acknowledge the fact that you don't have a job experience, but you need to emphasize that you understand the job description of a call center agent and that you know what you're getting into. Let me just give you an example. So right after you state your first name, your educational attainment, and the task involved in your previous job, you want to add something like this. I know that my previous job experience is different from a call center agent's, but before I decided to apply here, I did a lot of research. I asked a lot of call center agents, and I knew fully well the workload and stress involved in working in this industry. And I still really want to take on this challenge. But what if you're a fresh graduate and you have no job experience? Well, this gets a little trickier because you have nothing to show off to the interviewer because you just graduated and you don't have a job experience. So let me just show you the format and what I recommend. First, you still want to say your first name, your educational attainment, but this time talk about your accomplishments in school, if there's any. After that, if you don't have any accomplishments in school, then you tell your interviewer a story about yourself. What I mean by that is you could talk about your hobbies like reading books, watching movies, maybe you like solving puzzles, and how you are as a person. Maybe you're an introvert or an extrovert. What are you proud of in your life and your dreams? So as much as possible, you want to create a connection between your answer and the job description of a call center agent. For example, you like reading books. That could probably mean that you like improving yourself, or maybe you like solving puzzles. That could mean that you're analytical, or maybe you like watching foreign movies, which means you're curious about the culture of other people around the world, something that paints you in a good light. Hi, I'm Sheena. I just graduated computer programming last September, And since I don't have a job experience yet, let me tell you about my life as a student instead. When I was in college, I was the editor-in-chief of our school newspaper. I also loved joining extracurricular activities, especially sports, whenever I could. Any activities that involves a lot of people, you could expect me to be there. I guess what I love about it is the feeling of being a part of a group. I'm an extroverted person, so mingling with people comes naturally to me and even gives me a great pleasure. I guess I'm what you would call a people person. If you ask me about what I'm most proud of about myself, I guess it's when I managed to graduate college without any failing grades. My course is a really tough one. Lots of students usually drop out within the first and second years because of stress and pressure. But somehow I was able to push through it all and make my parents happy. And for that, I am proud. Why should we hire you? So, for you to be able to answer this question, we first need to understand why interviewers ask this question. And they ask this question for two reasons. First is they want to gauge your level of confidence. And second, they want to see how effective you are at convincing people. So, if you can sound confident and convincing when answering this question, you're good. Interviewers usually ask this question when the interview is about to end. At this point of the interview, your interviewer already knows your professional background, your educational background. And so this question really is less about your professional and educational background. This is really more about how confident and convincing you are. In this case, I recommend 3 steps for you to be able to figure out your answer to this question. The first step is I want you to pick one good reason for the interviewer to hire you. It could be a goal, it could be a positive trait of yours, it could be anything that paints you in a good light. And the step 2 is you need to pick a common call center problem to solve. And then the step 3 would be to support or back up your answer. You should hire me because I'm a person who pays very close attention to quality. When I decide to do something, be it as simple as cleaning a kitchen or as significant as exploring a new career, I always give it my 100%. And I really believe I could apply this to customer service. You see, my number 1 rule when helping customers is, as much as possible, they should not have to call for the same problem twice. That to me is the very definition of an excellent customer service. Of course, depending on lots of factors, this isn't always possible. But if I can help it, I will make sure that customers know what they have to know right on the first call and that their concerns are addressed to the best of my ability while also following the company policy. This way, customers are satisfied, there are no unnecessary repeat contacts in the future, and the workforce is as strong as it should. But what if you couldn't come up with any scenario? What if you just couldn't think of anything? You can just mention the benefits of hiring you. That's it. And you're done. It doesn't have to be a scenario. This is the example. You should hire me because I want to build a career in this industry and I intend to stay long term. I know that this could be a stressful job. I know that the shift is mostly at night. And I know that the schedule changes from time to time. But you see, I only graduated high school. And as far as I know, this is the only industry where I have equal opportunity as everyone else, where I actually have the chance to build a career. And I would really love to take advantage of that and make that happen specifically in your company. If you give me a chance to work for your company, you won't regret it. I always make it my goal to keep learning and improving. My short school education won't stop me from absorbing everything that you have to teach me. I'm also not going to be one of those employees who leave after months of being hired. I intend to establish my roots here. Why do you want to work in a call center? In the Philippines, if you quit school or leave your current job to work as a call center agent, the likely reason 99% of the time is going to be money. You want to earn a higher salary, you want to get better benefits in your workplace. But is it actually okay to tell your interviewer that your reason for applying for the call center job is money? And for me personally, I think it is okay. And I know that for most jobs, mentioning money as your main reason for applying is usually a no no. But in the case of a call center and in the Philippines, this is the exception. And that's because in the Philippines, when people work in a call center, it is common knowledge that people work there because of the money. And there's no shame in that. And your interviewer knows that. You know that. Everybody knows that. I want to work in a call center because this is the only industry where I know I could earn enough to pay for my sister's education. Try as I might, the starting salary I was getting as a nurse just couldn't fully support my sister's college. Please understand that I'm not saying this to complain, but to simply state a fact. I understand that you might have reservations in hiring me because I'm a nursing graduate and I'm from a different field, but I do intend to stay in this industry for the next 5 years. For now, my priority is my sister's education, and working in the call center is the only way that I could make that happen. I'm aware of the stress, I'm aware of the graveyard shift and the irate customers, as well as the pure hard work necessary for this job, and I am fully prepared. What is your greatest weakness? In this case, I suggest that you reveal a weakness that you truly are struggling with. As humans, we have a lot of weaknesses, but I want you to pick a weakness that is okay to have in a call center workplace. What I mean by okay to have is a weakness that will not interfere with the task of a call center agent. Now, in step 2 and the last step, I want you to explain the steps you're taking to overcome your weakness, or if not to overcome, to at least rise above that weakness. I'm terrible at making small talks. I used to convince myself that this is not a weakness, that because I'm an introvert, this is just how I'm wired, and that small talks are superficial anyway. But then I realized, small talks are actually necessary. You see, you simply can't ask a stranger about his regrets and aspirations, because that would be weird. You first need to test the waters and make bite-sized interactions, and you can only do that with small talks. And I thought to myself, well, this is definitely something I should improve on. So every day I made a conscious effort to smile at strangers, talk to them during parties, and I think I'm making progress. Face-to-face conversations with new people don't rattle me anymore. I'm still not the greatest at it, but I've definitely improved. I actually even enjoy it at times. And now here is the second sample answer. My greatest weakness is that I tend to procrastinate. When I was still a student, I would work on my projects at the last minute and end up scrambling when the deadline comes. What I noticed was I only tend to procrastinate on big and complicated projects, but never on small ones. For example, I could work on a regular daily assignment at school with no problem, but working on my thesis is just too overwhelming. So to deal with this, I read blogs about productivity, and one technique that particularly worked for me is to break down a large project into a series of mini projects. This way, I'm not overwhelmed and I tend to feel motivated every time I complete a single mini project. What are your strengths? So what I want you to do is to get a pen and paper, make 2 columns. The first column will be the hard skills, and the second will be your soft skills. You also want to make sure that the soft skills and the hard skills are useful or related to the call center industry. So for example, you have 1 hard skill, your experience in customer service. And then you have 2 soft skills, able to work under pressure and attentive listener. So here's my sample answer for that. I believe one of my greatest strengths is my ability to work even under pressure. Having worked in customer service, I fully know that this job could be stressful at times and that I won't only be dealing with smiling, happy customers, but also with irate and frustrated ones. In my 3 years of experience, I've probably dealt with almost all types of customers. I'm also an attentive listener, and by attentive listening, I mean I listen not only to the words that the customers are saying, but also to the words that they are not saying. The nonverbal cues, the tone of voice, the pauses, they're equally important when it comes to dealing with customers efficiently, and I'm fully equipped to handle that. For example, you had an experience in sales and you want to highlight that as your hard skill. So then it would make sense that your soft skills would be something like being relentless or strategic. Relentless is someone who doesn't give up that easily. And strategic is when you are approaching a problem logically, you're approaching a challenge in a strategic way. So these soft skills make sense for someone who had an experience in sales. And here would be my sample answer. I am relentless and strategic, and I owe that to my experience in sales for 3 years. In my previous job as a salesman, when a potential customer said no, it was my rule to not take it as a final no. Instead, I looked for opportunities to make the customer say yes. You would be surprised at how many customers can actually be influenced when you exert that extra effort. Every time a customer says no, but I hear some hesitation in her voice, I take that as a cue to push a little harder. Instead of taking that hesitant no as a final no, I change gear and ask the customer about her concerns about the product that I'm selling. The goal is to get her talking so I can listen to her, then I can gauge exactly what type of person she is, what motivates her, and how I can influence her best. Most of the time, it works. Your company might be a little different from the company I was working for, but I'm confident that the skill I acquired is universal and can be applied to your company to close deals and skyrocket your sales. Describe a color to a blind person. In this case, because a blind person cannot understand any description related to sight, then you will have to appeal to his other functioning senses, and that means as the sense of hearing, taste, smell, touch, and even emotional feeling. A blind person cannot see, but he can hear, smell, taste, touch, and even feel emotions. Describe color red to a blind person. Think of red as something warm and nourishing. It's what you feel when you're warming yourself up by a fireplace or when you're sipping a hot tinola on a rainy day. It's the security you felt when, as a little child, you were startled by the thunder and your mother rushed to hug you. It could also be a lover's passionate kiss. Red is love. Now, green. Green is the melody you hear when you're in the middle of a forest. It's the singing of birds, the fresh air you breathe, the murmur of a river. When you're stressed, these melodies will relax you because green nurtures life. Green is slow, but it moves with purpose. It's gentle, yet powerful. Where there is no green, it's hot, dry, and dusty. Green is life. Blue. Blue is the feeling you get when you're having a massage while listening to your favorite music. It washes away your stress and lets you live in the moment. Blue is also confidence. When you're certain that you can do something exceptionally well, that's blue. You become cool, calm, and collected. In short, blue is tranquility and confidence combined. Sell me this pen. Step 1 is you need to ask questions. By asking questions, you will be able to pinpoint the exact needs and wants of the customer. After that, we're going to proceed to step 2, and that is to create the features that fit your potential buyer's needs and wants. This way, you won't have a hard time selling the pen to your interviewer because it's the pen that she specifically needs. Here's a sample answer.
So, sell me this pen.
Sure, but I'd like to know, how many pens do you own?
A dozen.
Wow, that many, huh? Is there a reason why you need that many?
Well, technically, I could survive with only one, but I have this annoying habit of losing a pen on a regular basis.
On estimate, how many pens do you buy per month?
Well, I wasn't counting, but I'm sure not a week goes by that I don't lose at least one. So an estimate per month, I replace around 4 pens. Oh, make that 6 because sometimes some of the inks dry up.
How much does each pen cost?
10 pesos each? Well, I choose the cheap ones so I can buy them in bulk.
Stephanie, What would you say if I tell you that from this day forward, you will never again lose a pen in your life, nor spend an outrageous amount of money on unreliable pens?
Is that so?
You see this pen right here? This is not an ordinary pen. This pen is equipped with a flawless ink flow that never dries up. What's more, this has a built-in tracker.
Really? How does a tracker work?
All you have to do is download an app and connect this pen to your phone. Once connected, you'll be able to track the live location of your pen 24/7.
Interesting. How much does it cost?
You can get this for only 500 pesos. And I know what you're thinking, too expensive. But if you do the math, this pen is actually 4.3 times cheaper. You spend 60 pesos per month on average, right? Well, the ink of this pen lasts up to 3 years. With your usual supply of cheap pens, you'll end up spending around 2,000 pesos in 3 years. With this pen, you will only spend 500.
Now you really intrigue me. But what if I forget the pen at home? Even if I have a tracker, I still wouldn't want to go back home just for a pen, you know?
Easy. You have two options. Either you activate the notification of the app to notify you when the pen is 3 meters away from you, or you can buy two. One for the office and one at home if you really need that extra security. You will still save a lot, mind you. But you see, one really is enough. One of this pen is equivalent to your 3-year worth of supply.
Excellent. I'll get it.
Instead of asking 3 to 5 questions, you can ask at least 2 questions. The first question that you're going to ask is, tell me, what is that one thing that annoys you the most when using a pen? So that question alone is already going to identify your potential buyer's needs or wants. So that's a great question to ask if you want a straightforward answer. You want to get it over with as soon as possible. That will get the job done for you. And then you might want to ask one follow-up question, and that's it. Here's a sample answer.
Do me a favor. Sell me this pen.
Tell me, what's the number one thing that annoys you the most when using a pen?
Well, I hate the fact that I can't erase anything when I write with a pen. I would have preferred to use a pencil, but of course that's out of the question, so I don't really have a choice.
Does the appearance of the pen matter to you? Does it have to be a certain design, color, or look?
I honestly don't care how it looks like, as long as I can rely on it 24/7. That and the ability to erase typos.
You know, Jen, I have the perfect pen for you. Based on what you just said, this pen matches everything you need from a pen. This pen is equipped with an eraser. That's right, an eraser. But note, this is not a pencil. Think of this as a breed between a pen and a pencil. It has the high definition ink of a pen, but with the capacity to erase typos like a pencil. And when it comes to reliability, well, our company has been in the business selling pens for 2 centuries now. We would never survive this long without prioritizing the quality of our pens. So, where do you see yourself in 5 years? No matter how skilled of an agent you are, if you're going to make it clear to your interviewer that you're not going to be staying in the next 5 years in the industry, then it's going to diminish your chances of getting hired. It doesn't make sense for them to spend money on your training if you're already sure that you're going to leave in the next 5 years. Therefore, the general goal for answering this question is to convince your interviewer that you're going to be staying in the company in the next 5 years. That's it. For a newbie applicant who finished a degree, there are 2 possibilities. If I'm lucky enough to be accepted in this industry, then I'll be devoting my next 5 years to learning the art of customer service. If not, then I'll pursue my degree as a nurse. The reason why I'm prioritizing call center over my degree is, for me, career wise, I feel that there's a better opportunity for me to be a call center agent than to be a nurse. If I end up becoming a nurse, I would need to work abroad if I ever want to get a decent salary. The thing is, I don't want to go abroad if I can help it. I want to be with my family, and your industry is the only industry that can make that happen for me. So in the next 5 years, I see myself being a highly skilled agent, and if I'm qualified enough, I will probably aim for a promotion. If I'm lucky enough, I plan to advance my career and stay in your company long term. One specific thing that attracts me to your company is your emphasis on work-life balance. I have been in this industry long enough to know that this job could get pretty stressful. I'd like to finally settle down in a company with a sustainable work culture that will allow me to stay long-term and thrive. Second example. If I'm lucky enough, my plan would be to advance my career and work here in your company long-term. The reason why I want to work here specifically is your advanced program. This is the first time I've ever heard of such a program where you teach employees who want to advance their career new skills. This perfectly aligns with my values. I feel alive when I know I'm improving. It would be such an honor to see myself as one of the beneficiaries of this program 5 years from now. As someone without a degree, I believe this is the only industry where I think I have a real shot at making a career. So in the next 5 years, I intend to be well established in this industry. Whether as an agent or in higher position doesn't matter to me right now. Whichever it is, one thing that I know for sure is that I will continue improving myself until I'm good enough to land a job as a call center agent. Why did you leave your last job? If your reason for leaving your last job is an innocent one, then this is not something you should worry about. An example of this is if you have to relocate from one place to another. If you were laid off, again, this is not something that you should worry about because this is not under your control. Here's an example. Our company lost a major client, which led them to cut cost. Because their policy was last in, first out, I was one of the 50 employees who were let go. My team lead, however, can attest to my performance when I was still working for them. If you had health problems and you are now fit to work, then there really is no reason for you to lie. As long as you can provide the necessary documentation to prove that you are now fit to work, then you're good. I quit my last job because I had to recover from a stomach ulcer. My doctor recommended that I take a 6-month break. That break helped me with my recovery, and now I'm ready to go back to work. I can also provide the necessary documentation from my doctor if necessary. Maybe you want a higher salary, or maybe you just want better opportunities and promotion. Here's an example. For the record, I love my previous job as an e-commerce chat support, but I really feel the need to diversify my skills and work for a financial account at this time. That opportunity just doesn't exist in ABC company where I used to work since they only have e-commerce and telco accounts. One of the main reasons for leaving the last job is the higher salary. It's common knowledge. Some of them might accept your answer, but some of them might even press you and ask more follow-up questions. And they will corner you and they will ask you whether or not one of your main reasons for leaving your last job was the lower salary, and if you're applying to his company because you wanted the higher salary. And this is what I recommend that you answer. Well, compensation is also important to me. It reflects the value I deliver to the company and my customers. I'm less focused on that though. It'll always follow as long as I keep my skill set sharp and in demand, which to me is the most important thing. If you were fired due to personal reasons, here is a sample answer. I was let go. Basically, what happened was I had a problem at home and I got depressed. It affected my performance, where I used to receive a performance bonus every month for 3 straight years. I became one of the poor performing agents. Eventually, my TL noticed it. She did her job, talked to me about it, and even suggested ways on how to deal with it. I felt better for a while, but because I wasn't really addressing the root cause, it didn't go away for good. Eventually, I was let go, all because I was in denial about the problem. I let my personal problem affect my professional life, and needless to say, I only have myself to blame. It was a great wake up call, though. One thing I learned from that experience was when it comes to a problem, it doesn't pay to be in denial and pretend it doesn't exist. I need to be brutally honest with myself because that's the only way that I could deal to the root cause and deal with it objectively. There are 3 things that I like about this answer. The first one is the applicant talked about the 3 straight years when he was receiving performance bonus every month. So that shows that the applicant wasn't really always a poor performer. It means that there was a time in his career, in his last company, where he was doing great until the problem happened. The second one is he acknowledged that his team lead did everything she could to help him. He didn't blame anyone from the company about his problem. And the third one is he highlighted the lesson that he learned from the experience. So even if he made a mistake, it was not altogether a bad thing because he learned something from it. I know that there's a lot of you out there who quit your job on impulse. You quit your job, you went AWOL, you just couldn't be bothered to send a resignation letter and to work for 30 more days. So you went AWOL. But then, after a few months, you realize that you're running out of money and you need to go back to work again. And you only have the call center as your only option. But then, you now have an AWOL record. If the current company is going to do a background check on you, they are going to find out that you left your last job because of your own doing. Now again, do not lie about the reason why you were fired, but of course you have to add something. Tell your interviewer that it was because of a personal problem. Don't say that it was your previous company's fault. It will sound like you are victimizing yourself. Another thing, you cannot say that it was because you were so stressed out. Because after all, this is the call center industry. If you were stressed out and you couldn't meet the demand of the job, then what are you doing here? The only remaining option here is to make your interviewer believe that there was a force behind your poor performance, behind your impulse to go AWOL. This way, you will at least have a little chance of getting hired. Here is a sample answer. There is no better way to say this. I was let go because I went AWOL. This is one of the greatest regrets of my career life. I'm not usually someone who acts impulsively, but I was in a really dark place at that point in my life and I wasn't able to think objectively. I spent 3 years dealing with irate customers over the phone and I was great at it. Yet there I was with that one problem and I let it get the best of me. It was a wake-up call for me though. I am now in the process of getting better at dealing with my problems and I also surround myself with loving friends as my support system. My goal now is to be able to deal with my personal problems without affecting my professional life. How do you handle stress? Mention a coping behavior that is actually healthy and most of all, sustainable. Here's an example. For me, the most effective way to deal with stress is by following a strictly healthy routine. Every day, I eat clean, exercise, and make sure that I get enough sleep. This by far has been the most effective technique for me. Every time I get reckless with what I eat, don't get enough sleep, or become too lazy to work out, I immediately experience brain fog and feel cranky at work. But when I follow this strict routine, I can talk to any customer of any mood and feel capable of handling any issue. So, as you can see in the sample answer, the applicant mentioned a healthy way of coping with the stress. He mentioned exercise, getting enough sleep, eating clean. These are your safest bet. You can never go wrong with these types of coping behaviors. This also shows that you have a great self discipline because exercise takes a lot of self discipline, eating clean, as well as getting enough sleep. So, this is a great answer. In the call center industry, stress is the common denominator. Don't go here. Don't tell your interviewer that you never get stressed because that's unrealistic and it's not convincing. And don't say that you handle it poorly. Again, go to the middle. Choose the middle. And that is telling your interviewer that you do get stressed, but you have an effective action plan on dealing with it. And here's a sample answer. I deal with stress by dealing with it before it even happens. I plan. First, I take note of the common problems and imagine the things that could go wrong at work. I then lay out a solution for each problem. This way, I can go to work knowing that I have a prepared solution for each problem. The thought of being in control relaxes me, which in itself is a great stress reliever. Of course, there are times when I encounter unexpected problems. When this happens, I simply ask for help from my superiors and take note of the solution in case I encounter them next time. And the last tip that I can give you to make your answer more convincing is to try to tell a story about a situation that you've dealt with in the past where you have handled stress effectively. When I'm stressed, the first thing I do is identify the type of stress I'm experiencing. I classify stress into two kinds, productive and unproductive. For me, productive stress is the stress that aligns with my skill set. An example is the stress that comes from dealing with irate customers. I have a knack for dealing with people, so even if talking to irate customers is challenging, I thrive on it and I usually love it. This is a type of stress that a good workout and a deep sleep can easily wash away. And then there's the unproductive stress. It's the stress that isn't beneficial for my growth. For example, I once worked as an encoder. For me, it was stressful because it did not align with my skill set. The thought of spending the entire shift interacting with nobody was just a constant struggle for me, so I ended up quitting. And this is exactly why I choose to work in customer service because this is a type of stress that I thrive on. So in this sample answer, the applicant told a story about how he became an encoder, but eventually quit because he didn't like the nature of the job. This is a great story to tell because the reason why he quit the job was because there was no one to talk to. And fortunately, in the call center setting, this problem is not going to happen, especially if your account is a voice account. You're always going to be talking to customers every single shift. Of course, there are accounts where you might not be able to talk to people, especially if it's a non-voice account. So you might want to change the answer a little bit and make sure that it fits to your situation. But just remember that the important thing here is to just make sure that you're mentioning a coping behavior that is healthy and sustainable. If you can't do that, then you're good. Don't say that you never get stressed. It's unrealistic. And don't say that you handle stress poorly. Just go to the middle and you'll be fine. All right, guys, that is all for today. If you need more interview tips for call center applicants, check out my playlist of the call center job interview questions. I think I already have around 9 to 10 interview questions answered by now. So check that playlist out and thank you so much for watching. Bye.